Hey, this is Rich O'Neill with Elite Functional Performance here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for our friends at Charlotte Country Day School, we're here today to take you through a total body at-home workout using your exercise kit. Okay, so we're gonna unpack your kit and take you through everything that's in there and make sure that we're understanding of how to get everything organized. So first we have the band that is about 4 or 5 different resistance levels. They're gonna come in one container, and the colors don't matter too much. We're gonna talk more about resistance levels than resistance colors. Brand to brand, they'll vary in color, but the resistance levels will be consistent. We've also have 2 handles. What's great is that the bands are interchangeable, so we can connect more than one to a set of handles and create different levels of variability with the resistance. We're gonna have a set of ankle cuffs. The ankle cuffs are just very simply Velcroed around the ankles. They're fairly comfortable, and they've got a clip that's gonna allow us to attach the elastic bands to do some work for the lower body. And then the most important piece of equipment in the kit is the door anchor. The door anchor is going to secure into a door. We'll show you how to set that up, and then we're going to be able to change the angles of where we set our resistance to hit different areas of the body from different positions. Your kit also will come with a continuous band that we'll be using as part of the workout, both around the ankles and around the knees, to give some resistance to the legs and to the hips. So for our beginners, we're gonna suggest that you use some of the thinner bands. Thin in resistance level. These are still gonna give you a lot of work. We can always move back another step or come closer if we feel we wanna increase or decrease the difficulty, but the thinner bands are going to be most appropriate for our beginners. We've got thickness ranging from medium to heavy that's appropriate for our intermediate to advanced users. Keeping in mind that the clips on these will allow you to attach multiple bands to the handles. So if you feel like you need more resistance, you can add more than one handle, but the thicker bands will be most appropriate for our intermediate and advanced exercisers. So as we get started, you'll see we want you to do 2 rounds of your warm-up. That'll make sure that you have plenty of blood flow and muscle activation to get into our work sets. At the high band attachment, we're going to perform these 3 movements back to back to back, and then rest for 1 to 2 minutes between. Now our intermediate and advanced users can do this for 3 rounds, 4 rounds in a row, and we want our beginners to do 1 to 2 rounds in a row before moving on to the next circuit. At the mid-level, we'll perform these 3 movements in a row. Beginners 1 to 2 rounds, intermediate and advanced 3 to 4 rounds, 1 to 2 minutes rest between each circuit. And then the same for the low band. 3 movements, rest, 3 movements, rest. Intermediate and advanced can move to 3 to 4 rounds. Same with the band work that we do around the ankle, as well as around the knee. All right, so we're gonna start by taking you through a warm-up. The warm-up is the most important part of the workout because it prepares the nervous system as well as the physical body for the forthcoming work in the main part of the workout. We're gonna start by grabbing just 1 elastic band. We're gonna wrap the elastic band around our hands so that we can get into an underhand grip. We prefer the underhand grip to start working on the shoulders versus the overhand because the overhand grip seems to be so common in our day-to-day practices with computers and things of that nature. So we'll start underhand here. We're gonna basically just get the shoulders into a relaxed position so that we're not up in the neck. And we're just going to take the arms in a high to low direction, bringing the band back, squeezing the shoulder blades together and returning to our starting position. We're gonna go in the opposite direction, making sure to squeeze the shoulder blades together at the spine at the completion of each rep. The purpose of this exercise, what we call the pull apart, is to wake up the rotator cuff muscles behind the shoulder and to get the posture of the spine into a better position before we start exercising. A lot of us come into these workouts maybe right from our desk or from driving, and it's important for us to get the body primed into the right position before we start adding muscular stress. So we do 10 of these, 5 in each direction, and you can feel the blood kind of rushing into there and some of those muscles waking up a little bit. Okay, now we're gonna take you down to the floor. And here we're gonna work on activating the glutes, the hamstrings, the muscles on the back side of the leg. We're gonna perform a glute bridge. We're gonna make sure our hands are up and our shoulders are in the back of the socket, making contact with the ground. I'm gonna drive my hips to the ceiling by pushing through my heels. It's important to not overarch your back on this. Come down with slow control, trying to make your lower back touch before your butt. We can exhale on the way up. Inhale with slow control down. When you get to the top, you want to make sure that you have a good squeeze in the butt muscles. So you can hold that at the top for a 1 count to make sure that you can feel both sides turn on. We shouldn't have very much stress in the upper spine here. Shoulder blades should be secure against the floor, but without any tension in the neck. We're gonna perform 8 of these. And then come up from there nice and easy. We're gonna bring you right over into our quadruped position. In quadruped, we wanna make sure we don't have too much arch in the lower back, so we work to get a more neutral angle, and then we sit back into the heels. Because the upper spine is an area of general stiffness, we look to open up that area before our main exercises. So we'll take the arm and put the hand supported on the back of the head. We'll bring that elbow in toward the other elbow and reach away on an inhale, trying to feel the stretch in the upper part of the spine. You want to make sure on these to follow your elbow with your gaze, because that'll give you the most amount of flexibility and mobility in the upper spine. We'll do 6 of those and then switch sides. Coming in, open up. So for the next movement, we'll be on our back. It's important here to make sure that we feel the lower back make contact with the ground. So we'll do something with our abdominals to make that contact feel a little bit more rigid, and that's gonna be the activation of the core. Once we're in that position, we're gonna take our knees up to 90 degrees and take our hands to reach for the ceiling. You'll flex your toes towards your knees, then on an inhale, take your right arm and your left leg away to have your heel of your left foot touch the ground and the thumb of the right hand touch the floor behind you. Exhale, return to starting position and alternate arm and leg. The objective is to try and maintain contact with the lower back into the ground as you take each arm and each leg away 6 times each. We call this one the dead bug. Okay, and then for the last movement, we're gonna do some body weight squats. Standard squat stance is gonna have us set up with our toes pointing forward at about hip width. We can cross the hands in front, or we can even have the arms sticking out in front. We're gonna begin the squat by having the weight move into the rear portion of the foot as we drive the heels to the ground and continue to move the butt out behind. And when we stand up, we make sure we squeeze the booty and get the glutes activated at the top of the exercise. We'll drop into the next one and come up with control. It's important on these body weight squats that we don't create too much shear force into the knee. We don't want to have the action being initiated into the knee, but rather sticking the butt out to start the exercise as we descend with control. We're going to perform 8 of these, and we want to work with a slow, controlled tempo where you can really feel the muscles through the glutes and the hips turning on. We're trying to keep the torso upright and not get too forward with the spine. So think that there's a mirror in front of you, and throughout the descent and ascent, you just look at yourself in the mirror the whole time. we'll be able to keep a good upright spine position and really feel the hips warming up 8 times. Okay, so we're gonna begin our strength circuits using our elastic bands, and we're gonna work on setting up our anchor into our door. So the way this works is we have our plastic piece here. This is going to insert into the crease in the door. Now we're gonna set this for what we call our high attachment. So I'm going to close the door on that, and then I give it a good pull to make sure that that band is not coming loose. Once I feel the band is secure, I'm gonna take my elastic cord now and just loop the handle right through there, pull all that through, and now I've got an attachment that's higher than head level. So when I back up and start working, my resistance level is above my head. Okay, so the first exercise that we're gonna work with from our high elastic resistance attachment is gonna be a sweep, twist, squat. So I'll begin this movement with an overhand grip. Feet are set up in my normal squat stance that we just went through in our warm-up. I'm going to sweep both of my hands down toward the outside of my knee as I rotate and twist my upper body while coming down into a squat. I return to starting position and then sweep my hands to the outside of my opposite knee, twisting my upper body with my butt moving behind into a squat. We sweep back and forth with control, exhaling on the down, inhaling as we return to starting position. We want to make sure that we move with controlled pace and we don't let the elastic band get too jumpy. We're gonna perform 8 on each side. That allows us to get into a good rhythm. Okay, next I'm going to grab my handle around and get a grip on it like that. I'm gonna turn my upper body out and put one foot slightly in front of the other. I'm gonna bend my knees and get my elbows to where my upper arm is 90 degrees to my body. I'm gonna exhale and push my arms out, getting the elbow to full extension. Come back with control, pushing out on an exhale, bringing the hands alongside the head. It's important here not to get up in the neck, so try to keep the shoulder blades down. Exhale on the push. We call this the overhead tricep extension. We're gonna perform 10 of these. And for the next one, we're going to get squared up to our anchor point, put a soft bend in the knee, and put the butt out and turn on the core. We'll feel very secure in this position, and then we're gonna pull the hands alongside the rib cage, squeezing the shoulder blades together. I try to keep my field of vision at my anchor point here so that I don't begin to look down and drop my chin. So let's keep looking up. Now with this one, I want to inhale as I pull, squeeze the shoulder blades back together, and exhale as I return to starting position. We're going to perform 10 of these, and I don't want to get into too much of a rocking motion here. Try to really keep the body still as we squeeze the shoulders back 10 times. So now we're gonna move the band anchor down to our mid attachment point. So we move that down to an attachment point. It's gonna be around waist level. Once it's secure, we give it a good pull to make sure it's good, and we're ready to go at the mid-level. So from the mid position now, we're going to begin with our hands in an overhand grip, feet set up for a squat. We're gonna begin by dropping down into our squat, weight in the heels, stomach tight. As I stand up from the squat, I'm going to pull my hands back toward my armpits squeezing my shoulder blades together, and then as my hands release, I descend into the next squat. Stand up, squeeze, down for the next squat. We're gonna perform 10 of these. On this one, it's important to make sure that as we pull, keep the elbows away from the body. So for the next one, you can see I'm standing with my back to the anchor. I've got my hands at about chest level and my shoulders are pinched back. I'm going to begin by stepping out with one foot and pushing my hands out simultaneously. Come back with control. Try not to wobble like I just did. We'll alternate feet. Step and push. We're gonna perform 8 on each side here. And we wanna make sure that as we push, we don't let the upper body lean forward. We try to keep the upper body upright. So for our next exercise at our mid attachment, we're going to perform a twist. Now with the twist, I'm going to grab both handles with both hands. My inside hand to the anchor will be the hand that grabs them, and my outside hand will grab over that hand. We set our feet up at squat stance distance, a soft bend in the knee, and the arms will extend out in front of the chest. On an exhale, we rotate the upper body and come back to our starting position. We're gonna perform 10 of these on each side, rotating as we exhale. The arms don't have to be perfectly straight. We can support the weight better sometimes with a soft bend in the elbow. The objective on this exercise is to feel the core muscles working. The core muscles through the side, through the front of the abdominal region. So we try to bring our attention to that area of the body, really squeezing to rotate the torso. So now we'll move our attachment from mid-level down to low level. Always give it a good tug to make sure it's secure. So here in our studio, we're adapting for 2 stairs before we get to our door. At home, your low band attachment will be somewhere about shin to floor level, mid shin to floor. So for our first movement, we're gonna hold both handles with one hand. If I'm holding with my right arm, I'm going to put my right leg back. This is a lunge position. It's gonna create instability. We'll need to keep the core turned on. I'm gonna drop down into a knee bend, and when I stand up, I'll pull the cord toward my armpit. Down with control, stand up with the pull. We call this one the lawnmower. You have that image in your head of the old school lawnmowers where you grab the cord and give it a tug to turn it on. So we're performing a lunge with a row. There can be a little bit of a twist on that pull as long as it's controlled through the core. So I'll switch left hand grab, left leg back. We're gonna perform 8 on each side. So for our next one, we're going to be standing sideways to our anchor point. I'm gonna have my inside arm to the anchor, grab both handles, and then I'll have my outside arm wrap over. I'll set up into a squat stance, drop down into my squat with my hands on the outside of my knee. I'm gonna chop up and over my right shoulder and then come down with control into the next squat. We call this one the low to high chop. Inhale on the down, exhale on the up. The most important part about the low to high chop is as I'm coming down, I can't let my outside knee begin to dive in. That's trouble. We want to keep the knee over the toe as I'm coming down. We'll perform 8 on each side. So for the next move, we're gonna be back down on the ground. I've got my head facing to my anchor point. I'll reach back and grab my cables. I gotta make sure that my shoulder blades are making contact with the ground and my lower back is making contact with the ground. My knees are bent and my heels are on the floor. In one exhale, I'm going to lift my knees and sweep my arms down by my side, stopping my legs at 90 degrees. Inhale as I return to starting position. Exhale as I drive my knees up to 90 degrees and my arms down to my hips. We'll perform 10 of these. Trying to leave your lower back on the ground the entire time. Okay, so that'll complete all of the exercises involving the elastic band and the door anchor. We'll move on now down to the continuous loop around the ankles. You'll see here I have a stick. This is gonna give us some support for the things we'll do with the band. At home, if you don't have a stick, you can hold onto the banister of a staircase, countertop in a kitchen, any area for support. We're going to begin by just kicking the leg straight back. We're gonna call this one a kickback. And the idea here is to keep the body in an upright position and just kick each leg back. We're going to do this for 20 seconds. At the completion of 20 seconds, we'll switch legs. So it may be useful to have a timer on your iPhone, on the countertop, or in your hand while you're doing this. Just set the timer for 20 seconds. Trying to really feel the hip and the glute muscles working. Keeping in mind that we'll also feel a good amount of weight stabilizing on the stationary leg. That's fine. For our next one, we're gonna take the leg right out to the side. On this one, we're going to be working on the muscles on the outer side of the hip and leg, and also stability on the standing leg. Like the first exercise, we'll do this one also for 20 seconds. Then we'll switch sides. We call this one hip abduction because the leg is moving away from the midline. Our next one will be what we call monster walks. We're gonna start by dropping the booty back and getting the core tight as if we were performing a squat. And then I'm just going to hold that position and take a couple steps forward, and then holding that position, take a couple of steps backward. Repeating that sequence for 40 seconds straight through, really trying to feel the muscles through the hips and the outside of the thighs working. Also feeling the core muscles holding to keep the spine in a static position as we go back and forth. We're going to be maintaining tension on the band throughout, so we can't let the slack come into the band with each step. We want to make sure that we're keeping the tension on the band throughout the walk. So now we've got the continuous band around our knees, and we're going to perform a step and tap. So we'll get back down into our half squat stance. I'll step out to the side, bring that foot in and tap, step back out and tap. Like the monster walks, we're trying to keep continuous tension on the band throughout. We're going to step and tap for 20 seconds. If you feel a more rapid tempo is appropriate, then go there. So for the next one, we'll use the stick again or a base of support. I'm gonna start by lifting one leg off the ground and bending my knee to 90 degrees. On this one, I just kick the leg straight back. We call this one a door kick because I want the image of a door behind me that I'm kicking open. So I'm trying to keep my toe to the floor and kick back with that leg for 20 seconds, and then I'll switch legs. Still maintaining a tight core and an upright spine. So for the next one, we're back down in our quadruped position. Once I feel like I've got my spine into the correct angle, I'm going to lift my leg out to the side and bring it back down with control. When we talk about the correct position to maintain with the spine, we want to move from a position that might be too arched to one that's going to be more flat and neutral. So if we get down in that position and we feel like the lower spine is a little rounded, we can kind of create a more neutral position by engaging the core muscles. We'll hold that position throughout the exercise. We call this one fire hydrant. And I'm trying to make the outside of that leg be the only part of my body that moves. We're gonna perform this action for 20 seconds, and then we'll switch to the other side. And if any of these exercises are too difficult for some of our beginners, we can remove the band and perform the same exercises and still find value. Just want to thank you guys for being a part of this and doing your in-home workouts. We've got a lot more video content on the way, so please give us some feedback and let us know what you'd like to see in future workouts.